Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Checking audio 1 2 3 4.
Okay, I'm showing 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and call the city council meeting to order, and I'm going to ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Molly, if you could help me with the roll call, please.
Sure thing. Alderperson Henry. Here. Alderperson Schaefer.
Here.
Alderperson Valdy.
Here.
Alderperson Wilkin.
Here.
Alderperson Grimmer.
Here.
Alderperson Price.
Here.
Alderperson Eicher.
Here.
Mayor Atwell.
Present.
Administrator Hafner.
Here.
Thank you very much. All right, the first item on the agenda is number 4, public hearing. For a public hearing number 1, City of Delafield 2024 proposed budget and tax levy. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear public comments on the proposed 2024 City of Delafield budget. Anyone like to come and speak? Come on up, Mary.
Good evening, everyone. Mary Daniel at 309 Wisconsin Avenue here in Delafield. This evening, I'd like to speak about the public hearing for the 2024 proposed budget. Specifically, the City of Delafield's 5-year capital improvement program, the 2024 budget, page 108 in your great big binder. I condensed it, okay? So I'd like to talk about the dams, piers, bridges, and waterways. It's at the top of something that looks like this. It says $29,500, which is recommended for 2024. It also says that there's a private donation of $14,750, and the next line says Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources grant 50%, $14,750. So that's this year. Last year, the 2023 adopted budget, same line, same situation, said $60,000. That $30,000 was coming from the general fund, and the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resource grant was $30,000. The ask was for $14,750 additional, which was not approved by the council. And that extra money was because the price of the pier had gone up. The Department of Natural Resources grant for matching dollars has never been approved for $30,000. The permit for the materials to be used in construction of the pier has been approved. So when I review the City of Delafield's capital project summary from 9/30/23, and you probably don't have that right there, but I do. Looks like this. It states that for 2022, the St. John's Public Boat Dock has $60,000 listed, and it has spent $3,875.58 so far, leaving a balance of $56,000 plus. I believe that the $60,000 is inaccurate because the council approved $30,000 only. The other $30,000 is the grant that was never applied for, just the permit for construction materials. My question then would be, what are the real numbers for this capital project? Is it 30,000, 60, or what's stated in your big book, 29,500? So I'm not sure which one is the right one. So my other question for you is, with today's environment and prices going up, not down, what is the current market price for this boat dock for 2024? My mother's way of teaching me math doesn't add up, so I'm asking you to solve the problem for me. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Sir, come on up. I saw your hand first.
I'm not sure if I was first. You were looking my way, so I'll take it.
Hello, hello, hello.
Good evening. Paul McAllister, 817 Milwaukee Street.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Yeah, Mcallister. Not sure if I can read my own writing. It's a bit of a worry, isn't it? So, thanks for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I had two topics I wish to raise, the proposed budget and the external funding for the pier. A little while back, I attended the open house and I got the opportunity to speak with the fire chief and the police chief to get a first-hand understanding of their challenges and their approaches. I was also able to spend time with Tim, and I got a much better understanding of the challenges around expense and capital funding, which is nothing like corporate accounting that I'm used to. Not even close. But anyway, I came away with the feeling the Common Council are really being excellent stewards of our funds. I do have some first-hand insight. My business is IT consulting in local government arenas. And as I explained to Tim, I'm on NDAs with these organisations, but I see some pretty appalling things. And I just came away feeling really good. I wasn't really expecting to see what I saw, which was great. I also want to speak to the proposed external funding for the pier. I'm a boat owner and I support the concept of a pier, just not where it's located. And I fully appreciate there's no good choices here. Probably all the choices are between bad and worse, like a lot of things in life, right? But where it's proposed brings a number of challenges. As I understand it, the residents of the bay are not particularly supportive of it. The water is pretty shallow. At the end of October, it was 9 inches at the shore, and out in the bay there it was 14 inches. Of course, it's much higher, earlier in the year when the snow's melting. But I'm not sure if I'd want to be putting my boat up and down there. Kayak, maybe. The area is also, as we all know, it's designated protected area. And I gather that, a recent budget request for additional funds wasn't supported by the Common Council, so it doesn't feel like we have broad support here. But really, my biggest concern about this project is the divisiveness that this has caused. We have one group in the community funding environmental attorneys, and then we have another group funding saying, oh, that's okay, we'll come up with some extra money. We're clearly pretty divided on this. And, I was reluctant to mention this, but I will. As you know, many of you probably know Ross and Chloe. I'll murder their surname. I can never pronounce it. Maybe you can help me out.
Juan Schneider.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. I knew you could do it. They were quite vocal and didn't support it, and have been part of committees for environmental attorneys and so forth. But earlier this year, someone actually placed a big pile of dog shit on their front doorstep. And that's just appalling, It really is. What's going on here? That our community is, so polarised on this stuff? I'm just, I didn't sign up to that sort of stuff. I really didn't. Anyway, I urge the Common Council to review this project and consider re-evaluating the location. Sure, not any great choices, I know. Or abandoning the project in something in favour that just has broader appeal and less divisiveness, because there's enough divisiveness going on in the world now without it happening in my backyard and your backyard. So, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Yep, appreciate your comments. Who would like to be next? Come on up, Tim.
Hello, my name's Tim Turnock, 304 Fieldstone, Delafield. I have a couple comments regarding the proposed lighting of the trail, the VMR trail from the post office for Genesee Street Bridge to the Fish Hatchery Bridge or Liberty Park Bridge. Over the years that I can think of, 8 or 10 years, maybe longer, there's been various volunteer groups that have sprung up to help clean up the riverbank. Many of you have also participated in some of those activities to clean up and beautify the riverbank, and done a good job. In fact, part of what we've done helped contribute to a grant that we had, I think 4 years ago now. Over 10,000 wildflowers were planted in that area from bridge to bridge. Recently, another group has sprung up, another volunteer group, the Delafield Art Foundation, and their goal was to try to establish a stage for musical acts and others that would appear in Liberty Park. In the last couple of years, they had a number of events, and they were well attended. Some of the last events, however, went into the evening, further into the evening, and as the citizens left the event, it became very difficult for them to walk on the trail from Liberty Park to the Genesee Street Bridge. In fact, when it's dark on that trail. So we have proposed through Park and Rec some subdued lighting in that area. SEH has determined, I can't remember how many lampposts are there now, but just enough lighting to be able to illuminate the trail from bridge to bridge, to be able to get people in and out of the park at the appropriate time. This will be very much needed as the two developments, our residential developments, are completed, and also the large Hendricks facility is completed. More and more people are using the trail all the time, which is, of course, our goal, to have them come into events like the items on the stage, musical events, plus enjoy our shops and restaurants. So I'm asking you to consider the lighting proposal. And I think if you haven't been on the trail at night, maybe on your way home from work or after dinner one of these evenings, walk on the trail in the dark, and I think you'll discover rather quickly that lighting is very much required. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Uh-oh. Who'd like to be next? Anybody else? Seeing no other hands, we'll say the public hearing is now closed. And we'll move on to 5. Approval of the following meeting minutes, October 16th, 2023 and October 24th, 2023. Do I have a motion or corrections?
Move to approve the minutes of October 16th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
I move to approve the minutes for October 24th.
Second.
It was close. You want me to pick?
I got it, Schaefer.
Got Schaefer, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, we'll move on to number 6, City of Delafield citizens' comments for anything else on the agenda. Is there anybody that would like to speak to anything else on the agenda? Seeing none, citizens' comments are now closed. Special order of business, introduction of new Delaware General Manager, Rob Minima. Come on up. Did I say that right, Rob? Perfect. Well, thanks for coming. Absolutely. If you could maybe just introduce yourself and give us a little history on yourself and what your new role is.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief, as I've been to many of these meetings before with a previous employer, so I know what this is about. But thanks, Mayor, thanks, Council, for time here tonight. Tim obviously is our commission chair, and we thought it'd be a good idea, as Delafield is one of the founding members of the commission, we're here to serve you. So I wanted to introduce myself as the general manager for the Delafield Heartland Water Pollution Control Commission. That's a mouthful. Try to abbreviate that in our future domain or whatever you want to call it. But so I'm honored to take over this position for Scott, who's going to be retiring here very soon. Give you a little brief background. I was with the city of Beaver Dam for several years. I won't get into the specific numbers, but in a similar role. So I've happy to take over here for Delhart. Moved to Waukesha a couple years ago. I have a couple of grown children in the area, and which kind of brought me back to this area. So very familiar with the Milwaukee area. My kids both went to college here. My wife works locally for Pro Health as a CT tech. So we kind of have kind of drawn to the Milwaukee area and also the Lake Country area as well. So really enjoy last couple of years here. So I'm happy to be part of it, part of this commission, and just want to let you know that I'm here for you guys. If you have any questions or about the facility or anything in general about the commission, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to leave a bunch of cards here for you guys. Working on hopefully some new updates on the created domain for the facility, possibly some new website updates coming up. On the wastewater system in general, I don't know if you're familiar. I can give you a brief background, but I'm sure that some of you are aware of the system itself. The commission was created in the early 70s. The plant was put online in 1980. We had a fairly major upgrade in 2005. And the last two upgrades, 2019 and now this year right now is going on, the main driver for that was state regulations for phosphorus removal. So we did some upgrades in 2019 with some filtration, some tertiary filtration at the plant, and this particular upgrade is for biological phosphorus removal. And these two upgrades will put us in good position to meet those regulations, which actually just came into effect in September of this year. So happy to report that we're meeting those regulations as we speak. There are, obviously there's always facets. We have a lot of capital assets, millions of dollars of assets, and there's always something that's going to need addressing. So that will be a continual, planning for myself for moving forward to have a 5-year capital plan. But I can say that financially, I've inherited a very sound financial facility, commission, so to speak. So the assets are in place to handle those upgrades, whatever may be needed in the future. And even with this last upgrade, to be able to pay for those without taking out clean water fund loans or things of that nature, which obviously in this interest rate environment is a pretty big deal. You're saving quite a bit of money by being able to pay for these upgrades. So that's about all I got for you, unless you have any other questions.
Are you open for tours?
Absolutely.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah. No, we had a new commission member from Heartland, which I recently brought her through the plant. We do have some construction going on, but that's no deterrent at all. If anybody that wants to tour, I'd be happy to schedule that for you.
We'll let you get your feet wet, and then
Sure.
maybe when I first came on to the Common Council, I took a tour, but that was more than a decade ago. So I'd love to see the upgrades.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And possibly in the future, the upgrade, the current completion is probably going to be April, May of 24, and it was supposed to be done sooner, but due to the constraints of getting electrical components and things of that nature, there's been some delays there, which isn't unique to us. It's pretty common everywhere, but so hopefully sometime in 24 maybe I'll have an open house or something like that as well. So, but
Welcome.
thank you, appreciate it. Anything else?
Sounds good. Any other questions?
Oh,
All
thank
right.
you.
All right.
Thanks for
I'll
coming.
leave some cards on the table and feel free to grab them or whatever.
Sounds good, Rob. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you much.
Okay, we'll move on to 8, the consent agenda. Got a
I move
motion?
approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. All right, we'll move down to number 9, 9A licenses. I believe there's nothing there. Move on to 9B, Planning Commission. Mr. Iker, please.
All right, we've got 2 ordinance updates that are in front of us, and this is part of an ongoing process to clean things up so things run more smoothly and we get rid of some ambiguities in the code. I know last time we had one where Mark identified an issue that the Plan Commission did not. I don't think we've got those kind of snafus in this one, but what this essentially does is, like I said, help clean things up. It's pretty well detailed in the packet there. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 823 to amend sections Article 4 zoning districts and Article 5, Article 10, and Chapter 2 of the ordinances.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I'll make one comment, and that is part of I believe it's this action, unless I'm mistaken. Does this do with petitioning for zoning changes?
Yes.
Yeah, so in the past, there's been, and currently there's an ordinance that states if zoning is to be changed in an adjacent property, a certain percentage of the neighboring properties can get together and essentially petition through a protest or a petition to require a supermajority of the council to enact such a zoning change. That was enacted, that was actually went through the process once that I can think of in the city history. And it was because of a development that was going to increase the intensity of a particular use in an adjacent property. This was, if you recall, the Prestwick development, for those who remember names. State law changed, which prohibits us from having that type of an ordinance for that cause. Right now, the only reason that you could have an ordinance in place as a municipality to have that protest type be in place is if you were to downsize a property, meaning if you were to take it from an intense use to a less intense use.
Much less likely to be complained about.
Yeah, so it's odd, but there's our state government in action for us. So we didn't do anything other than accept the fact that this is state law, and we're looking at a possible process in the future where we could enact something that might work around that to put the old process in place through a different means, but don't know that that's going to happen, but we're thinking about it. We're cognizant of the fact that that was a valued provision that is no longer available due to our bigger, better partners in Madison. So I just want to make that clarification. So.
All right, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
And the next one is much less formal, looking for an acknowledgement. So I'll make a motion
Yes.
to acknowledge the updated zoning and land use plan maps, most recently put in place, are reflective of our changes over the past few years.
Since 2016, I believe, is the last time we published this map.
So that is my motion.
I'll second.
And this is, while there might be things in flux that are a pending change, we need to update them to make sure that we have these things published on our site, because there's been some changes that aren't actually official maps that have been there for a few years, and we should make our data accurate.
Developers, potential developers, citizens that want to know what it is, they go to the map and it's old and it's, way out of date, and it gives them bad advice, so.
So I encourage you to review them here and at home. If you see an error, easy to correct. We can accept the error right now and we can correct it later, because right now there's lots of things that are missing.
I'm sorry, you motioned?
Yes.
Who seconded?
Jackie.
Jackie did, okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes.
And rest of the commission's activities are in the minutes, and we have a meeting, I believe it's immediately after Thanksgiving, so we do have a regularly scheduled meeting the last Wednesday of the month. That's it for Plan Commission.
Great, thank you very much. We will move on to 9C, Lake Welfare Committee. Mr. Price.
Yes, Lake Welfare will be meeting this Wednesday.
Alrighty. D, Park and Rec Commission and Tree Board, Mr. Schaefer.
Park and Rec, we're working on a citizen feedback survey to better understand the use of the parks and needs and help us drive future use and future developments. Tree Board, we elected a new vice chair, Sherry Fleming, to be our vice chair of the Tree Board. Dan Cahalan is already our chair, but we didn't have a vice chair. We also have a vacancy. One of the members retired from the board, so we're now down to 6 and looking for a 7th. So if anybody knows anybody who'd be a good candidate, have them fill out the application on the city website.
Sounds good. And you guys have line of sight to the update of the 5-year plan?
Yeah, we're working on that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't want it to be late.
I
Last
hear
time
ya.
it was 2 years late. Alrighty. Thank you very much. E, Public Works Committee, Mr. Grimmer.
Public Works had a discussion on strategies to decrease speeding, specifically on Milwaukee Street. They adopted recommendations to straighten out existing signs, provide yellow reflective tape on posts, pavement markings on speed limits, vertical pedestrian crossing signs at a couple locations, all in an effort to decrease speed on Milwaukee Street. Those are all relatively low-cost interventions for the city. So we see that as a good first, hopefully first and last step. There was also discussion on alternatives to bricks as the crosswalks in downtown are deteriorating, and my understanding is the bricks are costly to maintain, labor intensive to maintain, and so alternatives are being investigated.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Move on to F, Delhart, Mr. Iker.
We've not had a meeting, just met our new general manager. He's a great asset that we're excited to see where he takes us in the next few years. So that's it. We have our next meeting in December. So, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. You have to check the calendar. I don't have it off the top of my head, but our next meeting is as scheduled.
Sounds good. All right, we'll move on to G, Police Commission.
We have a meeting coming up on Wednesday, this Wednesday, November 8th at 5:30.
Sounds good. H, Library Board, Ms. Henry.
Yeah, we've not met since our last meeting. Our next meeting is November 14th.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Zoning Board of Appeals, Ms. Faldy.
Oh, I'm so excited. We actually have a meeting coming up on Monday.
The committee you thought would never meet.
I know, the no meeting committee, but yes, on Monday, the 13th.
Sounds good. All right, J, Promotion and Tourism Commission, Mr. Schaefer.
No meeting, no report.
There we go. We'll keep moving. K, Lake Country Fire and Rescue Commission. I would refer you to their website to see when their next meeting is. L, Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board, Mr. Grimmer.
No meeting, no report.
You have an upcoming, oh no. you don't.
November 30th, I believe,
Okay,
is our next meeting.
thank you. M, Deer Management Committee, Mr. Wilkin.
The Deer Management Committee met on October 17th, reviewed the trail cameras that they put up in Lois Jensen and at the brush pile. They seem to be working very well, and the committee agreed that they're positioned well. They picked up a large doe in the Lois Jensen area, but haven't seen much activity in the brush pile so far. The registration is out for hunters, and it's about 50 to 60% filled right now. So good activity there.
Good.
Next meeting is November 21st.
Excellent. I believe the rut has just started or about to start, so hopefully we'll see some good numbers. Okay, we'll move on to N, other committees, commissions, and boards. Don't believe we have any of those. 10, unfinished business. A, discussion and possible action regarding the amended recreation contract between the Village of Heartland and the City of Delafield. I know it's in your packet. Basically looking for some discussion on that if needed. Otherwise, looking for a motion, and then we can have some real discussion.
I have hard copies of the marked up agreement or proposal, if anybody needs one.
Mark, maybe you can say a few words
So,
about it.
Yeah, basically, as you know, we've had agreement with Heartland since about 2003, where their recreation programs, they have a rec director that works on these classes and gets instructors in and schedules activities. And we are, part of that, we've been paying a fee to Heartland for that service, which in turn gives our residents priority in the sign-up, and also Heartland resident fees for any classes that they take. And Heartland's been reviewing their expenses, no surprise. You know, we all do that regularly, and they've asked us to share in more of the costs. They have they have their director's salary, they have the cost of the classes, they have their catalog mailing. Bottom line, they spend about $430,000 for their recreation programs. The revenue they take in is about $340,000, so the cost to Heartland is about $90,000. We currently pay $2,500, plus we give them the use of the fish hatchery at no charge, and we cover expenses there. And they use that typically about twice a week throughout the year on average. So they've proposed that we pay a $6,500 flat fee, and we've come back with a proposal that we would continue to give them the use of the fish hatchery. We'd also give them the use of the Oakwood Park disc golf course and the sports complex volleyball courts, subject to our schedule, but they would be able to use that for their rec programs, and we would take care of any maintenance costs. We don't really see anything for those facilities, but we do have some costs associated with fish hatchery. Then we would replace that $2,500 flat fee with a $10 fee for each citizen that takes a class. So at January, they would bill us $10 a resident for the prior year, and we would pay them that. This year, we're at about 385 participants. We expect it to be somewhere between 400 and 450 for 2023. So we would be paying somewhere around $4,000 to $4,500. Not as much as they asked for, but more than we're paying now. And considering what it costs to put together programs like that, I think it's more than fair.
This is basically a formal document of what we discussed with the council last time, that we had a majority head nod that thought this was a good direction to go.
Yeah, we put that down in writing here, in detail, and we've given this to Heartland to review and to take to their board. And at this point, I think this is ready for, I think they should approve it. I think I'd like to see us approve this as is. I don't know if there's any questions, or after reading this in detail, do you have any other comments or questions?
Do you think that that's going to meet their expectation? I mean, you think this is going to go through? What's your gut on their approval of this proposal?
I do. We've had some discussion back and forth. They definitely have costs associated with this. They would have those costs anyway, with or without us. But I think we're both better off with each other, right? They're offering hundreds of programs that our citizens can take advantage of.
Do they also
We're offering them facilities.
do some of the programs use the baseball diamond at Fireman's Park as well, or not?
No, just.
Okay.
The old agreement was sort of open-ended, that they could use our city facilities, but the only thing they had been using was the fish hatchery. They've expressed an interest in the volleyball courts and the disc golf course, so I've added that to the agreement.
But to more directly answer your question, nobody can speak for what a future council or village board is going to do, but the folks Mark have worked with have given us feedback. They thought it would be acceptable.
Yeah, okay.
But it's always contingent on an actual vote.
Yeah, and their meeting's next week, so.
And I do appreciate
after
this,
that.
Mark, because it incentivizes that program to provide, to attract City of Delafield residents, you know? And, you know, and like Tom mentioned, you know, we could have 400, 500, 600 people attending. I think that's a good problem to have, you know? It means they're putting out programs that people want to sign up for. So
Yeah,
it
it's an incentive
incentivizes
for
them,
them.
and it's a kind of a pay for play. So I'll make a motion to approve the presented recreation contract between the Village of Heartland and the City of Delafield.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion?
I do have a added question. Mark, we had talked about the usage by the current, like, reveres and whatnot of the volleyball courts. Do you have kind of built into there how that's going to go, as far as making sure that there's clarification on who gets first dibs and when that has to occur, so that I can let the current, you know, annual user know when they have to get that information?
Yeah, good point. The original, or the current agreement on this states that the Heartland Rec programs get priority for reservations. What I've added to this new document is that any existing reservations for our facilities would take priority. So anything that's in place prior to January of 2024 gets priority. After that, the existing or any new Heartland Rec programs in our facilities would take priority. So since they're ongoing, our ongoing reservations or programs would take priority, but then second to that, the Heartland programs
So I
would take priority.
The way I understand it is like Mark is saying, but let me try to use some different words. Where we have commitments, for example, Revere's, they would get priority for what they've always done in the past. And then Heartland will work their program around that. But when you communicate that and when Village needs to know that, we're going to ask staff to coordinate with them to just make sure it works for both parties.
Yeah, so first priority is anything pre-existing, second is Heartland programs, and then third is anybody who comes for yeah, anybody else who comes for a one-off reservation.
It would be nice if we had a breakdown, I mean, not, but like on an annual basis of what programs our citizens are using. Do they have that information?
We do, yeah, they do have a breakdown by program. Some of the programs are what they call a punch card program, so you get a punch card, it's good for 10 classes. And somebody could use that in multiple classes. So it's a little fuzzy, but they do have, where there's a direct sign up for a specific class, they do have that. The punch card is sort of a pre-purchased, you get a punch card for $50, and then you can use that. I can use it today, I can use it next week, I can use it next month. I could use it in multiple classes, so. They do track their number of participants, but it might not always be real precise by Delafield, by class.
All right, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. All right. Thank you for working on that, Mr. Schaefer.
And
Okay.
Mr. Hafner.
And Mr. Hafner.
Thank you.
10B, discussion of possible, let's see. Where am I here? Which one?
You're on the 8.1. You're on 10B.
B, okay. Discussion of possible action regarding the city of Delafield pertaining to its own municipal court versus joining Lake Country Municipal Court. Tom, you want to give us an overview on that one, please?
Absolutely. So the last time this was discussed at council, the council came up with a series of questions that they were looking for answers to. I posed those to Judge Kay with Lake Country Municipal Court, and his letter with his responses to those questions is in the packet. The two other pieces of information that I have for you this evening are that the city does need to make a decision on this one way or another by the next council meeting at the latest, November 20th. And then the other piece of information is if we do continue as our own municipal court, any change at that point would need to coincide with the end of a term of a municipal judge. So you couldn't abandon our own municipal court and go to Lake Country in the middle of a judge's term.
We don't currently have a judge's term, right? Or do we?
We do currently have a judge's term that ends in April.
Okay.
And Joanne Eyring is currently serving the remainder, well, actually, on the next agenda, you appointed Joanne Eyring as interim until December 1st. So on our next agenda, there will also be action to either continue with Joanne or to appoint somebody else.
Through April.
I'm getting clarification on that. Preliminarily, I'm of the understanding that the appointments can only be 90 days at a time, which would be through February, and then we might have to appoint her again one more time.
Okay, thank you.
I do like the 30-day flexibility, 30-day opt-out flexibility. And the fact that the costs are paid by the fees and assessments of the court.
The one thing with the 30-day opt-out, Mark, is remember, if we opt out, we need someplace to go.
Right, right.
And so it would probably make sense to do any opt-out in a way that coincides with
A future election.
a future election for a new municipal judge.
And I'm not expecting to opt out, but just thinking of some things that turn into sort of lifetime contracts. This has a lot of flexibility. I'd be real interested in knowing what our police chief thinks about this.
He happens to
Yeah,
be.
so he gave some comments at the last meeting, and he's a little reluctant to get into a lot of detail, but he can come up and give it another try.
Are there any specific questions? I'd be happy to answer specific questions.
I read through this and I didn't see much downside, but I'm not that close to the workings of the, I haven't had to be in a municipal court in, I think, about 20 years now, so.
You're due.
You better knock on wood.
But,
Go ahead.
yeah, just if there's anything, I'm just wondering if there's anything I'm missing that, are we losing, control or abilities or anything that, that you need to do your job?
We, as a police department, can't exercise any control over the municipal court. And so no matter what court we're with, we're a separate branch of the government, and we are separated. Having a local court allows us to make sure that the citizens of Delafield have the largest say in what the judge is doing and the judge through the election of that judge. But outside of that, there's very little influence that we tend to make with the court.
And the provision that we provide a court officer or attorney, I assume that's not any burden that we don't already have.
Correct. We already have legal prosecution, yes.
Do we maintain the same control over our own district attorney, or
Yes.
prosecutor? So regardless of whether we go to this court or not, we maintain our same prosecutor?
Correct.
Travel time, Mark, was brought up in the past. I think we're going to be scheduled on a Friday, midday or early afternoon. Possibility for the number, not that we go that often, but when we do go, you might get pushed out a little bit. It's going to be a little less convenient for those people that have received these types of citations to go through the process. More convenient when it's here at City Hall. So there's just some logistics and that sort of differences as well, but
Minor.
certainly that can't be, nothing that can't be overcome. It's just some more time.
And budget-wise, would this affect your overtime at all?
It would have very minimal impact. As I brought up the last time we spoke about this, officers testify in court very infrequently, and so the travel time would have very little impact on our overtime budget.
And currently, we do provide a bailiff at municipal court, which we would not be responsible for that if we joined Lake Country.
And you thought the cost savings, Tom, per the last meeting, to my recollection, was somewhere around 25,000?
I think we said about 30,000, didn't we, Landon?
Yeah, about about 29,000.
Does that come out of the city's operating budget, or is that, I'm assuming it would?
It is, yeah, in the general fund operating budget.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll also weigh in and say that I've, again, express a lot of gratitude and thanks to Judge Hausman for doing the job he did. I think it was not out of any position of anything else than giving back to the community. And I have a concern that we would be opening ourselves up to possibly not having someone of his caliber as judge if we opened it up just to the 7,100 residents of the city. We might get a good person. I mean, you got to be a resident in the city to be a judge in the city. Judge Kay has a great reputation, and we'd be switching to a known entity is what I think is a real conservative move. So, and maintaining our own prosecutor, that's where a lot of control over how things proceed is as far as how aggressively we pursue things, how we look for certain results, you know. So I'd love it if we had another Judge Hausman. And so I don't know if, you know, if waiting another week is going to get it, or 2 weeks is going to have someone come forward. I'm willing to suggest that we make that case to our neighbors and our friends, that if they know somebody who's got that type of potential, that would be interested in running. We can't pick the judge, the citizens do via election, but if we think we've got a good candidate that might be in the wings, I think we can afford to wait 2 weeks to make the decision for our next council meeting, so. But I think minus someone stepping forward or 3 people saying, we're all great, we're gonna run against each other. I think it's a reasonable proposal to move forward. There's a reason that we're the last one in this area without being part of the bigger consortium. It's because there's, you know, we're not all great judges, and so anyway, those are my thoughts.
Tom, do we have any option to possibly have somebody from the outside of the community come in and be a judge, that we could get maybe a potentially more qualified person? Or is that a state statute that we have to do that from here?
No, it has to be a city resident, just like to be on the Common Council, you have to be a city resident.
So Tom, are we good if we wait 2 weeks?
We got one more meeting.
One more meeting? We needed.
We are good if we wait. As a general head nod, would the council like us to prepare an ordinance that would have us join Lake Country?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay.
But as of right now, we have nobody stepping forward. Is that correct?
Nobody's called me. Has anybody called you, Paul?
Well, I would argue, even if we get a late candidate, I mean, that's $30,000. They have to be worth X plus 30 grand. That's all I'll say. That has to be a pretty special candidate.
Agreed. We had one.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, we're going to move on.
Just real quickly, if you see at the beginning of Judge Kay's letter, he invited myself and all the council members and the mayor. Their annual meeting is this Wednesday, November 8th at 1 o'clock. I'm going to be there for the beginning of the meeting. I need to be in Sussex at 2:30. But if anybody wants to show up there and kind of meet the participants and see what it's all about, you've been invited.
Based on the minutes that were included of the past meeting, it doesn't look like it takes very long. All right, we're going to move on to 11, Mayor's Report. 11A1, accept resignation of Ken Beckman from the Citizens Member position on the Library Board, term to expire 4/20 of 25.
Move to accept the resignation of Ken Beckman.
A second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, passes. A2, accept resignation of Elise Mern from the city member position on the Library Board, term to expire 4/20/26.
I'll move to accept the resignation of Elise Mern.
I'll second.
All righty, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, passes. 11A3, confirm appointment of Matt Shire to the citizen member position on the Public Works Committee vacated by Jack Dembski, term to expire 4/20 of 24. And my understanding, he attended the last Public Works meeting just to check it out.
He did. I'll move to approve Matt Scher for Public Works.
A second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, passes. 11A4, confirm appointment of Susan Buchanan to the alternate position on the Promotion and Tourism Commission, term to expire 4/24.
I'll move to approve Susan.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. All right, we'll move on to 12, new business A. Possible discussion regarding the proposed 2024 budget and public comments received during the budget public hearing.
Is there any discussion on public hearing items or any general discussion on the budget as a whole? If not, I've got one thing I want to talk about, and Molly has one thing to address.
Okay, I'll just real quickly ask for clarification that was brought up by Mary Daniel about the different funds involved. And I know what she was talking about because there was $30,000 overall. If memory serves, the 2022 budget was projected back in 2021, was that it would be $30,000 from the city and 30 from a grant from the state. And then last year in the 2022 budget discussions for 2023, there was a request for additional funds. So I don't know how it was switched up or where that money, so just a little clarification there would be good.
Yeah, how you stated that is exactly correct. The council has approved a budget for this project of $60,000. $30,000 of it was to be funded by the city, and that amount has been borrowed in the past. And $30,000 of it was to come from a DNR grant, which we had applied for, but then withdrew our application due to the permitting issues. And if the permitting issues are resolved, and if the council approves moving forward with the project, then we would reapply for those grant funds. So of the $60,000 budget that's been approved already, the city only has $30,000 of that funded.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Turnock for coming up and explaining the purpose for the lighting on the trail. The number looks big to me when we went through the budget workshop, and it's one of the things that stood out is it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $70,000 for lighting, and I appreciate the need. I'd like to hear more from Public Works, from the Park and Rec Commission as far as potential special lighting for those particular events. I don't know, in some idea about the utilization of the trail, because it is a pretty sizable amount of money, and I'm not sure. Whatever. I had that as one of the things. I'm like, do we really need to spend that? It was one of my outcomes of the last meeting for the budget workshop, and I'd like to understand the absolute necessity for it versus some temporary lighting for special events that are going to concentrate people that in that area that might not be aware of how dark it is, versus hikers and people that understand that it's not lit when they're walking, that are going to go there regardless and understand that they need a flashlight or something. So,
And just myself, I also thought it was a big number. And I guess I attended a number of those events. I'm not sure I was always there to the very end to see or paid attention to which direction people were leaving, but I would assume most of them were going to the municipal lot and not down that trail to parking that might exist at the post office or somewhere else downtown. I'm having a hard time visualizing how many people actually from those events went that direction. And maybe that's more than I thought, but it didn't seem like all that many to me.
Yeah, I mean, I could briefly address some of that or come to the next meeting with some more detail.
yeah, we will be discussing it at the budget workshop. I'm just bringing up that as an issue, and whether or not it can be handled with, ushers or whatever for, volunteers, as opposed to fixtures, which may not, be in keeping with the long-term plans and what ends up happening there with the stage and power needs and other things. We might be doing work twice as opposed to accommodating a special event need right now. I'd like to think that it's something, any infrastructure improvements might be more long-term inclusive.
And I would also comment on the frequency of those events. Liberty Park is utilized at night I think it was maybe 4 times, 6 times over the summer. So, you know, you build it, you know, you might see more utilization along the river, which I totally appreciate, and I would be more inclined to support it, but, yeah, I guess that's where my head's at.
As a resident tree hugger here, I worry about how we would install lighting and what the impact that would have on the trees and plants that are all along there. It makes me a little nervous, so that would be one of the questions that I'd like to be addressed, along with the costs.
Okay, and I can be prepared for all that the next meeting. Think about, you know, think about that area. If we do plan to, you know, bring in crowds to that area, ingress and egress is very limited. You know, if you look at, you can go east on the trail to Genesee Street, you can go west on the trail to the bridge. There's a third opening to the north, and we plug that with a stage. And if we plan to have continued events there and draw crowds, whether it's a permanent stage or a temporary stage, the lighting that's proposed, like Tim said, it's minimal. It's seven lights over about a 700-foot area. If you go across the street to St. John's, there's, I think, 15 lights there, and they are the short bollards, which are actually 4 times as intense as the lights that we're proposing. So it's sort of minimal to meet crowd safety requirements is sort of the way I look at it.
Mark, excuse me for not, I listened, I didn't remember the date. Is there a Park and Rec meeting between now and the next council meeting?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
No, we have one on the 20th. It's the 24th, I think.
Okay, because since we're on the topic, and I'm not an anti-pickleball guy, but since it's part of the budget in general and this opening up the discussion, is this just for public comments?
No, the public hearing or the budget as a whole.
Okay. I have a question about how basketball and pickleball coexist and how net posts, I mean, did you get a 6th man to set a screen on the basketball court for the net posts? Or I'd like to see a layout of what, it's not just striping, we need a net, so I'd like to understand how that may or may not interfere with basketball. It's not a big number, but yeah. I'd like that clarity too for the budget.
Yeah, I can bring a drawing. It's basically two pickleball courts on one basketball court, and it totally interferes, so you can only do one at a time.
Okay.
But it's movable nets.
Okay.
So first come, first serve. And to answer the noise question, we measured pickleball noise. It's 1/3 that of basketball noise.
It's higher pitch. No,
less. Higher pitch. I don't know the frequency. We didn't measure that. Decibels, it's less than basketball.
I'm here to pick on Park and Rec, I guess. I'm just, okay. Those are questions that are on my mind.
Yeah, okay, good.
All right,
we'll
thanks.
be ready to talk about that.
And for the record, I do walk that trail when I go to the events in the dark. It's, you know, I have an iPhone with a little flashlight on it, though.
Does that work for you? Yeah. There you go.
Absolutely.
Mark, what are the proposed
breaks a
lights?
leg.
What are the proposed lights along the trail?
Pardon?
What are the proposed lights along the trail? Are they the full-size street posts like along Genesee Street, or?
No, they're the full-size posts like in St. John's.
Okay.
They're less intense than what's on Genesee Street. They look like they're not, but they look like a gas light. They're on 14-foot poles. They're not the short ones that you see in St. John's. There's both there.
Yeah.
We're just talking one row of 7 lights from the bridge to Genesee Street.
Yeah, well, I'll just mention that I was in attendance at the Pat McCurdy show, and I happened to park at City Hall and walk over there, so I walked back towards Genesee Street, and I will say it was extremely dark, and it occurred to me that this is a significant potential trip and fall hazard. And I'm just wondering if it's possible, rather than temporary lighting that someone has to set up and take down after every event, which sounds labor intensive. I just wonder if there's a much cheaper option, like just the little ground lights or something that you put along a trail or something like that. Just some foot lighting.
Solar.
Solar or the low voltage. It's just the solar might be a problem given all the tree cover in that area.
Yeah.
They don't turn off, so.
We do have those short, what they call bollards, about 3.5 foot tall lights. You'll see those in some of the parks as well.
I'm even just talking about the things that stick up this far above the ground. They're just down on the ground.
And Tom, that would obviously be exponentially less expensive.
You need a
Yes.
lot more of them.
Okay.
These tall lights can be, the light spread is about 8 times what those short ones are. So you need, I don't know, 4 times as many lights.
Okay.
Which, as far as, Jackie's concerned with, what plant life's being displaced, plus the number of installations and how that looks compared to a few broad lights compared to many of these concentrated. The short ones are just by nature, they're concentrated, they don't spread this far. So we did have that discussion with SEH, and they recommended the tall lights for less cost, less installations, better dispersion of the light, and really a softer light than what you get with the short poles. The short ones look cool, but they don't, functionally, they're probably not doing what we need in that area. That's oversimplifying, but that's sort of the reason we went with the tall ones.
And why are they not simpatico with our streetlights here?
They're less intense. They're not as bright.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. If you look at the Genesee streetlights and you look at the tall lights in St. John's Plaza, you'll see the difference. It's the ones on the
Genesee
street
lights are
street
extremely
lights.
expensive.
Yeah, don't.
More so than these.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot bright.
Strike that question.
We didn't want a city street light ambiance. We wanted something a little more park-like and less bright. Just bright enough to navigate safely. Yeah.
I have a question regarding the Liberty Park stage. The 19,000, this is the same as what you did last year, correct? Like, that's basically the same funding that you're looking.
Right. The rental stage, porta potties, and temporary electricity.
So what's the plan for that? Because this is coming out of the capital budget that was intended for designing or, for coming up with ways that this would work. I know last year we approved it because this was going to be a conceptual to see how it worked. So you did that. So what's the justification to now funding the operation of this again for a second year in a row?
It keeps the entertainment series going, and the Arts Foundation actually has a proposal from a firm, Parkology, I think is the name of it, that's done other stages throughout the area. The remaining money from that 50,000 will get them concepting, rough costing, and drawings. So there's still enough money in that original 50,000 to do that work, even after this.
So is there a plan though going forward? Because obviously we cannot continue to fund the operation of this going forward with a capital expense that was designed to come up with a conceptual. So what's the plan to then fund the operational expenses in the future?
Either the Arts Foundation raises the money for a permanent stage, or we continue with the temporary stage if we wanted to approve money for future years.
But even once the stage is
or we
built,
decide
I mean,
against it and it stops.
this is replacing the cost of having the stage built, right? So once the stage is built, are we gonna have these kinds of costs every year going forward?
This 50,000 was for evaluation and
Right, but instead
concepting.
it's funding
We
the
could still do
operation
that.
of the stage. So if we have, even if we have a building there, there's gonna be operational costs involved with having a building there. So what is the plan for funding the operational costs of having a building?
This doesn't fund the operational cost. This is this is essentially a temporary stage that 19,000 buys you. From the pre-approved 50,000 that was approved in 2022 budget. It's kind of the beta. I would look at it as.
Yeah, it was sold and bought as proof of concept,
Yeah, right.
right? And
Right, exactly.
it's just,
And I,
it's a
and
You're wondering
stretch,
about the
but
future.
it's still, it's proving that it's laying the foundation for a track record of revenue, experience, attendance,
Yeah.
to
Have we seen
have
those-
have
we
the,
seen those numbers then, like what the revenue is and what?
aside from being there, I haven't seen them. But I'm just saying that's, the onus is on the fundraisers and Park and Rec and the, what do you call it? The
Right.
Arts Fund.
Yeah.
Arts Foundation.
And my.
To leverage what they're given to use this money to say, this is why this is a great idea, and this
Okay.
is like a design, it's like design funding, right?
Are we seeing that kind of data coming in though? Are we seeing that?
You see what I see.
They see, and this is their
That's
tool
my
for
question though.
fundraising.
Are we
Right.
seeing that happening though?
Well, I think it would be useful to have Arts Foundation present, and I know that they are, like Mark mentioned, they are putting things together. Jim Ryers visited like 20 different municipalities and looked at parks. That Arts Foundation has shared with me and others, I think their attendance has ranged from 300 to 5, maybe 600 per.
50, yeah.
Yeah, 550 was a high watermark for these events. So is that enough to say we're willing to spend X amount? I think for me, proof of concept, as Tim said, it still needs to be proven. Because I think my idea, and maybe the consensus of the council, is this isn't done for a more permanent stage. It isn't done with exclusively city funds. You need private donations to make up the vast majority of the build.
And the Arts Foundation understands that they need to leverage what we're doing here as a fundraiser, and they have. They have enough money to pay for a series of acts for next summer, as well as some funding for the design, the basic design work.
Okay, so how many more years are we going to have to do this to have the proof of concept?
We only got enough money for one more.
Only
No,
one,
not even
like,
more.
Right, we got
this for
one more,
2024 or 2025?
2024.
Won't be enough for 2025.
No, I mean, the one
so-
year I'm saying is 2024.
2024 is the last year we'd be
That's
able
it.
to do that. Okay.
And my big question is, I want to see the trajectory. Does that 300 to 500 crowd turn into 500 to 1,000, or does it stay to 300? That's going to tell us everything we need to know. Is this something that is raising awareness and it's going to grow, or is this all we can expect, in which case, you talk about $1 million stage, and it really puts it in perspective.
We and don't get us wrong for raising these issues. I'm sure Danielle agrees. I mean, we want this to be an extraordinary success, and we want to have every momentum and all this excitement around a big asset that the city will have and enjoy in the future. We're just.
Yeah, I just want to
we
see
don't- yeah.
I want to see it. Like, show me what's going on.
Well,
Like,
let's go big.
that's
Let's
what I'm.
do it.
Have you been down to an event?
I have, but it's.
Was it dark?
I don't know, but I hope you have Pat McCurdy back.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's a cool concept, but I'm not going to build it and hope that they'll come. They got to come first, and then that we know it's going to be worth it if we build it. It's not Field of Dreams.
Thank you.
Have them bring signs to one of the council meetings. We'll get them out in our neighborhoods, right, for the next events. Because I know they're around. Let's get them in our backyards.
Yeah, they understand they need to amp up the publicity and the awareness.
All right, anything else to discuss, folks?
So I've got one thing and Molly's got one thing. The thing I wanted to bring up is the memo in the packet. There was one expense that I forgot to include in the budget, and that is the city paying for our fire and EMS fees for our buildings. That's going to amount to an expense of $5,850 to be added to our general fund budget, and $1,350 to be added to our water utility budget. So I'd be looking for a motion at the next council meeting to incorporate those changes into the budget.
And that's contingent upon a $450 fee?
That is.
Okay.
And Molly, did you have one thing you wanted to interject with?
Yeah, we had discussed at the budget workshop, the potential for website updates. One of it was to go with a new vendor, and then the other was to use the current vendor. One of the concerns that was expressed was by Alderperson Henry related to calendar subscriptions. And I did find out that you can subscribe to the calendar online, where it does speak back with your Outlook, or I would imagine if you had an iPhone. I'm not that special, so I don't have that option, but there is that subscription and update communication. Alderperson Henry did express that she's still looking for the ability to subscribe to different calendars, which we do have that capability to add different calendars. I'm not sure if you can create like an umbrella calendar that talks to the lower calendars, but the basic concept is there. You can even subscribe to the facilities calendar too. So I have both like the Common Council Chambers calendar as a subscription service plus the city calendar right now, just to kind of see what's going on. So I don't know if that'll help clarify or weigh the options to one way or the other, but as that was a big concern, I did want to address that. Were there any questions about?
So you're saying it's available for the website we have today, it's available for the upgrade to the website we have today, and it would be available to any of the other people that might offer a different proposal. Is that what you're saying?
So I specifically looked into our website.
Okay.
And the subscription availability for our website. So it is available for our website today as it sits.
Okay.
And any changes or updates that we would make to our website
would maintain it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just not currently being utilized. Like, we have the ability to do it, it's just not being, like, you can subscribe to the general calendar with everything. And what my concern was is I wanted to be able to subscribe to specific committees and commissions. So I want to be able to follow lake welfare specifically versus the whole city calendar as a whole. That was where I was going, what I was looking for.
Correct.
And we do have the capability of doing that, it's just not in place at the moment.
Correct. We would have to create an individual calendar for each committee and then make those updates accordingly. And then each person could subscribe to whatever calendar they wish. We do have currently several unpublished calendars in the background. So we do have the capability to create a calendar for whatever we'd like, as many as we'd like.
Thank you.
All right, unless there's anything else, we're going to move on. Okay. We're looking at B, discussion and possible action regarding the annual renewal of the Lake Country Fire and Rescue line of credits. Tom, you want to touch base on that briefly?
Yeah, this is a line of credit that the fire department takes out each year. They've never had to withdraw funds from the line of credit, but it is provided for in the intermunicipal agreement. And essentially, each of the municipalities, partner municipalities, need to approve the terms annually because effectively we are co-signers to the loan. If LCFR drew against the loan and was unable to pay back the amount, then the individual municipalities would have to pay back that debt. And the city's share of that is 41.27% based on our current funding formula.
I'll move to approve the renewal of the LCFR line of credit.
Second.
Alrighty, is there any discussion?
I realize this is an important tool for them to run their operation. The 41.27% is just a pain point because it seems like we're reinforcing a formula that we essentially don't agree with. Just a thought.
Don't rub it in.
Not much we can do about that right now.
Not, yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't.
I
what else
just want to
say?
make that clear. This is not a, I'm
I'm
not condoning
eager
This
that.
is not an endorsement
I
of the
was
percentage.
eager to make the motion because they're
So it's real clear. Can you put that in the
necessary-
motion?
Yes.
End of discussion.
Alrighty. Any other comments, questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. We'll move on to C, discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 2023-18, a resolution adopting fire protection and emergency medical services fee schedule. Tom, you want to give us a review on that one, please?
Yep, at the last council meeting, the council passed the ordinance creating the fire fee and allowing for the establishment of the fee amounts and methodology. And then this resolution defines that fee amount for 2024 and the methodology as far as how many emergency service equivalents are assigned to various types of properties.
And just so you know, as I asked this question earlier, the definition of dwelling unit and the definition of condominium unit came directly from the city attorney. There's a lot of funky words in there, I thought.
I'll move to approve resolution number 2023-18.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. All right, we'll move on to number 13, report of city officials. City administrator, any report?
You forgot D.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry. D, approval of vouchers payable. Oh.
I said we gotta pay those bills.
D, approval of vouchers payables report for reporting dates of 10/18 to 18/2023 through 11/6/2023 and 9/30/2023 to 11/6/2023 in the amount of $577,000, $748.80 for an account payable and $1,114 and $836.51 for payroll. A motion?
I move to approve the vouchers as presented.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. All right, now on to city administrator.
I have no report this evening.
Oh, no report, nice. City clerk.
It is November, which means I have shifted heavily into election planning. It seems like so far away, but it's really just that close. So I do send out a annual letter and kind of packet to the incumbents. So expect that towards the end of the month. It's waiting on the municipal court decision because that changes the letter and the type A notice that I send out. But do expect that after the meeting and the end of November. Be prepared for circulating your nomination papers starting December 1st. It is a even year, so your even numbered districts and the mayor will be up for election this year. And that is all I have for right now. Any questions about the upcoming spring series? Okay.
All right, move on to city treasurer's report, item 1. I did send an email to Amy today. I I noticed that we're getting a very nice return on the money market for Town Bank, but when I saw what we were getting from Waukesha, which was like 1% for about $500,000 we have in TID 4, just wondered what we could do to try to get that number up. So I did make that comment, just so you're aware. Otherwise, I'd refer to the report in the packet. D, council requests for future agenda items. Any requests? If you come up with any between now and the next meeting, please let Tom know. We'll move on to 14, correspondence. Refer to those, any in the packet. And seeing no further business, we are now adjourned at 8:25 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It's all ready to address the occupancy permits.
You up for election?
No.
At this time?
You?
Yep.